Hello and welcome to BeamNG Drive. I'm davidinark. We are here on the Crash Hard Cliff Diving map, this time the Bluebuck edition, as the stock car kicks things off. The dragster, however, is out of here. It takes a huge lead among the other cars. The Horrible is about halfway through the pack. Oh, heading up there with the stock car. The dragster makes a jump, starts to lose control. Oh! It is out of the race, and about the same time the stock car drops off the edge. Two cars are out. The Horrible skids, trying to avoid falling off the cliff. He is out of the race. Holy smokes, we are down to two competitors. We have the taxi and we have the low rider. Look at that, and that is definitely riding low after a few jumps. The taxi smoking. You see the low rider up ahead. The taxi not far behind, but it is definitely taking some punishment. The low rider, it's amazing how well the low rider is doing. I don't know, something about those hydraulics, I guess. The taxi smoking hard, the front end, look at that, just getting bent up. Again, you see the low rider up ahead, and more front end damage to the taxi as the lowrider seems to be not concerned at all with the cliff jumps here. Oh, that was a little off center, but manages to maintain control and just keep right on rolling. The taxi, takes a nosedive, the front end bending up even further. However, it is still plugging along quite well. That is so painful. Oh no, skids out of control, comes to a stop. Let's see, can the taxi regain its composure and make its way through? Come on, there we go. Oh, it makes it through. Oh, gets stuck in the pit. I believe that was the last approach. No, I guess not, because here comes the lowrider. He makes a jump. And as the lowrider crashes in, that is the final approach right there. Oh, a massive hit to the front end. However, the lowrider just keeps on going, and as a matter of fact, becomes the third vehicle in the series to actually make it to the finish line. That is awesome. Holy cow. So we've got a D-Series van. We've got a Grand Marshal, and now a lowrider Bluebuck. That is unbelievable. Let's take a look at the individual time trials here, or I say time trials, the different trials here for the cliff diving event. The stock car got off to something of a slow start, really, but is pulling ahead of the Horrible and is actually doing quite well. Gets up on two wheels, and that is where it starts to lose control and ultimately ends up bailing off to the side. And what really did the stock car in was the fact that it lost its front driver's side wheel there. And as badly as that stock car wants to climb back up the hill and get back into this thing, there's just no way to do that when you are missing your front wheel. So that is the run for the stock car here on the Crash Hard Cliff Diving competition. Next up, we've got the Horrible, and this car is a beast. All of these rusted out, raggedy cars seem to actually do a pretty decent job in the cliff in these cliff diving competitions. There you see up ahead the stock car flying off the edge as the Horrible just keeps right on trucking, but it loses control, also going up on two wheels, and there you have it. In fact, it even tosses a wheel as well. Must be something about these Bluebucks and the way that their wheels are put together here. That could be something of an issue to be checked out. Of course, at this point, these things are no longer in production. Be interesting to check the history of the Bluebuck and see if weak wheels on the front end were an issue. Or maybe it's just when you're cliff diving off of, cliffs. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Anyhow, let's cruise along here and take a look at the taxi. Again, the taxi's in third place, so if you've been following along on this competition, you know that the third place car always seems to take a quick break right there at the beginning. Takes a hard hit at the first jump, but then seems to be going along pretty decently. I mean, sure, it's, you know, losing its bumper, and it is starting to bend out of shape. You can see the lowrider up ahead of it, but it is taking this like a champ. Just passed over the horrible down in the pit. I don't know if you saw that or not. Got a quick glimpse of that as the taxi flew overhead, but it is just trucking right along. The doors have now popped open on the driver's side, and as the taxi continues its trek toward the finish line, the passenger doors are also ajar, since the vehicle is got some serious body deformation going on here, right? A lot of deformity to the body. The engine is smoking pretty heavily, but the vehicle is still trudging along. At this point, it looks like, as long as it can continue to survive the actual jumps and falls, that this one is going to carry itself to the finish line. Unfortunately, oh, there we go, a little bit up on the front end, and that is what puts it out of commission. So the vehicles that all got put out of commission thus far have all resulted from landing awkwardly and then just not really being able to recover. Now, the taxi actually did manage to recover and was actually in a good spot to keep on going, but when it came up out of that pit, it hit the gully there in the middle, and there's just nothing it can do at that point. It is completely stuck, and that is the end of the run for the taxi cab. Next up, we've got the lowrider, and if you watch the competition at the beginning of this, you know that the lowrider makes it all the way to the end. I think this is probably the biggest head scratcher we've had so far. I actually figured that the lowrider, considering its very low suspension, and frankly the tiny little wheels and tires, mostly, you know, those thin tires, I figured this would have been, you know, destruction right off of the first couple, that it absolutely would have been destroyed. But as we see, not only is the lowrider cruising right along, but the body of the chassis, rather, is not even dragging along the ground at this point. So there's got to be something, I'm assuming, in the hydraulic system that is helping provide some kind of extra, I don't know, cushioning or something, because as we see, the lowrider is just not even pausing. The engine just now starting to show some signs of wear and tear with the smoke coming out of it. But for the most part, this car does not... Oh, there we go. There's a sideways land. The lowrider is able to recover quickly and does not suffer the same fate as the other Bluebucks that we have seen in this competition, still taking some pretty hard hits as it comes off of a few of those higher landings. But all in all, the lowrider just keeps on going along, and the front end is definitely getting bent up out of shape. You can see that the bottom of the vehicle is real close to dragging. That major hit right there at the end, I really thought that was going to be the end of it, but it just keeps going, crosses the finish line, and hangs out there at the end to take on the to take the finish line and grab first place for the Bluebucks here in the competition. All right, the last one we've got to look at is the drag version, who gets an incredible lead. Oop, goes up on two wheels, but manages to recover. Two wheels on the other side, still recovering. There's another landing up on two wheels, and it is just doing a dance the whole way. The back end gets away from the dragster. It tumbles, rolls, and falls down, landing itself off the track. And it takes a little bit of time after it has fallen off to attempt to get its way back onto the course, but really, there's just no recovering from this. Once you're off the course, it is very, very hard to get yourself back on, unless perhaps you can guide yourself up to one of the spots in between jumps where you might be able to get yourself up, but the dragster doesn't make it at all. So there you go. We have the Bluebuck competition and the lowrider, the only one to make it to the end, and they will advance to the finals. Hey, special thanks to Hero of God, GamerGull, and Mr. Spooky7 for supporting me on Patreon. You can check that out, patreon.com/davidinark. Thank you so much for watching. Got any questions, problems, suggestions, horror stories? Feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. Tune in next time for some more action here in BeamNG Drive. Have a great day.